Hello there. Today we are still fine and still moving and trying to maneuver the different technical issues in our 2023 KCSE project. And in the last video, that is video number 3, we were able to work out discounted prices, and also in it we were also able to calculate the total amount for items bought. In today's video we shall be dealing with this aspect, item number D, surcharged fees for lost or damaged equipment. That's what we want to learn to compute. But just to recap the previous video, I would like again to review a small area just before we go to today's matter. When I'm doing a sale, when we are giving a receipt, we saw that we left at the place where we could click this button, and then we were able to see a receipt appearing on a page. But we also noticed that all the other invoices are also available. The sales receipts are available, yet we only have interest in only a single document. Like now, me seeing 002 here, invoice 002, in this particular case, that's wrong, because the invoice number that I'm having on the screen is number 1. Therefore, we ask ourselves, how can we filter out to only have the receipt that we are interested in, to only have one single receipt that we are interested in, and not a series of all the available receipts. Just like when I'm spinning or scrolling, you notice I'm able to get even more receipts than I need. So that's easy. What I'm going to do is simply get into the report. I'm calling mine report invoices. It's a sales receipt. However, the word invoices in business, I know it means something different. So after I open this report, I will open its record source, and that's where I'm going to do some modification. So I'm selecting the report, just like the way we do on forms. I go to data. Where is it getting data from? There is a record source long statement here. So I click it to build. You realize it is getting, when we were generating this report, we mixed items from 4 different sources. But our area of interest now is this invoice number. So I'm at the bottom here. And I want to do some adjustments. So let me try to see whether we shall activate zoom in. Yes, I'm zooming in so that we are able to follow what I am doing. I'm in the column of invoice number. We want to apply a criteria here, which will tell my system that it should look up for the invoice number which is on the form that I will be using at that particular time, and that form is available at the Maringo Sports Club. Then under forms, I expand the list. I have not loaded any form, so I simply display all forms, and the form is form invoicing form. I open it, and then what am I interested in? Invoice number. Forms, invoicing form. Whatever name you are using for your form, you have to know your items, the way you are calling them. Of course, I have been saying, unless you think like me, you cannot be having names appearing like the names that I'm using here. So it's you to remember the form names that you have used. So in this case, I have already added a criteria. So if I close this report, now, and I close it completely, because it should be called from a form. It should be called from this form that I'm calling form invoicing. Okay, so I've got invoice number 1 here is what is on display. Let me see whether it will be able to show me the the desired receipt. The desired receipt. Yes, it does. And how do I know that it is not showing me more things? Because at the bottom here where I should see pages, at the bottom where I should see the number of pages, I don't have the controls to move back and forth to any other page. I can likewise, so you can see this is invoice number 1. Then why I made it so narrow, you may be wondering why is it so narrow. I had to measure what is the common width of an ordinary receipt that we get from a supermarket. I found that the width is normally 3.78 inches there, 3.8 inches. So the width that I'm using here is actually the thing that is limiting me. And then I again have restricted somebody from maximizing the report window. Pop-up and modal aspects have also been applied to this small window. And I have also restricted issues like, do we have maximize and minimize buttons? So if that's invoice 1. If I wanted to show invoice number 2, I go to record number 2, invoice number 2 on the form, and then I also find invoice number 2 on the receipt. So I've been able to achieve what I exactly desired. So far, so good. So that's a recap. But now we go to the agenda of the day. Today, we want to move on to work out the surcharged fees for lost or damaged equipment. It is important to note that we are supposed to deal with 2 aspects. One is that we are selling items to those who desire to buy. But there are those other things that are not for sale, but we lend them out and then they are returned, just like what happens in our library system. You know, when you go to the library, you can borrow a book, you go out with it, and then you are expected to return it. You are expected to return it. So to that end, I have already prepared myself by having about 3 extra tables. I've got a table that I'm calling table store items, you know, the items that we shall be lending out and receiving back. So I'm recording them into a table called table store items. Here they are. These are things like footy balls, you know, the balls themselves, spiker shoes, volleyball nets, hockey gears, table tennis paddles, table tennis nets, golf balls, anything that you may feel that this is an equipment which can be borrowed and then to be returned. So, and then remember, because there is also a mention somewhere within our project, I also have added a field here called market value. Market value. And each image has got, each item has got a sample image. I'm going to show you this on a form. Do you want to save? Yes. And then there is another one which I have created here, TBL, store items in out. I'm expecting to use this table. You can see it has got those fields. Probably I switch to the design view so that those who are quick enough may get a glance of what I have done at a glance, right? Item ID, which is a foreign key here, borrowed from the previous table I've just talked about. And then we have borrowed by. This is actually a member. It's a member. So there has to be a relationship created. Item ID to the other table called table stock or table stores items. Then borrowed by, it's related to table members. Then date borrowed. Then quantity borrowed, how many items. Issued by, who is the attendant. You know, in an ideal scenario, we must have somebody who is accountable, who is the, like now in a school scenario, who is the librarian. The other people who are accountable. Here we have a stores clerk. If you read your project somewhere, we are told about a stores clerk. So they are the people to issue. Then when the person returns, we shall mark that item as returned on a particular date, received by, okay, probably by the same store's clerk, quantity returned. And then this one is debatable whether we should have it on the table, quantity lost or damaged, or we create a query for it. I will prefer working with the latter, working with a query. Therefore, this field here may not have much meaning to me. I may finally ignore it and have the computer use a query instead of trying to have it on a table, because being on a table, it would mean that I just type in what was lost or damaged. So let me first clear it, and then I will have it on a query somewhere. Right. Then, so remember to save anytime you do a necessary adjustment. Table items restocking. Okay, these items, of course, come from somewhere. We order these items for these items. How many balls are we ordering? We ordered 30 balls. They were brought. We received them through Derek Bryan. The person is our store clerk. Then received from whatever shop or whatever company that supplied the item. So we already have, we already have items on stock. Some items are on stock. And I can also show you some of the forms that I have designed. I've already done two. There is a form to display. There is a form to display the stock that is this correct? No, these are the items for sale. These are the items for sale. The two items are confusing. Here we are dealing with the stores, okay? Items that are to be returned. You may call them equipment if you don't want to be confused. You may call them equipment, or you can use any other name. I've got a form here, which I'm calling form equipment. You see, like now this is capturing that we shall be giving out balls for football. So that's a record. And at a glance here, I've got a formula which is showing how many items have we ever received, the total items that we have ever received, which items are out. You know, when we lend, the system should also be able to give us the number of items, the balls which are out, already borrowed, and then to give us a balance, what remains after we have lent out some balls. So that happens in all the items that I have recorded. Spiker shoes, we have got 100 of them. None borrowed, and then available are 100. So what kind of a formula that I have here is called the D-sum. D-sum, which totals up the number of items that are coming from a particular domain. So let me zoom in so that you can be able to see the kind of a formula that I'm having here. Zoom in like so. So the function dsum is here. Dsum all the way to that part. That's the function dsum. Dsum is calculating the total number of items, you know, the summation of items in a field called quantity received. And then it is getting that field from a table called TBL, store items restock. Okay, that's a table name, where item ID is equal to the currently displayed. You know, on the form we have got an item ID displayed, and on the table we have got the same field item ID. Where the two are equal, then let the computer work for us quantity received. NZ, remember here we have got a function in a function. Dsum is inside another function. And Z function does what? There is a time when you can try to display a record where we have so far no quantity received for that particular item. The computer does what? It will return a null N-U-L-L value. Dealing with null values becomes a little bit challenging, and that is where now we apply the use of NZ. But if we have no item, if the computer returns null, instead of us seeing error, we should see 0. So NZ, open bracket, and then immediately after the dsum function, you see there is a comma that follows, that where we have null, do not display the word null or error, but instead display as 0. So if you are keen enough, you can just pause the video, then you can copy this formula, think about it, and then it will become very useful as you progress in your project. Right. So there is also the dsum used to display how many we have issued out, and then this is a subtraction of what is in and what is out. We have a formula there. Okay, because that's not our area of interest, I will not dwell so much on that. I don't know where I'm typing minus instead of zooming out. Good. So that's one thing that I did for preparation. Then when we receive items, when we receive items from whoever is selling these items from where we are getting them from, like if we are adding more football, Mikasa type, I just choose football, and then I've got how many footballs did we receive? Say 40. And then where did we buy this from? Nairobi Sports House. Nairobi Sports House. Okay, that way. So that's an area where I'm recording the equipment that we have so far received. The equipment that we have so far received. Now, we go now to the paper, project paper, where we got the question that we are handling. The aspect of surcharging comes from this particular paragraph here, brought to our attention by Jen. And the part says the patron is also responsible for selecting a game captain from the members. The captain is responsible for collecting and returning various sport equipment from the store to facilitate the game. In case of any loss or damage to the equipment, the captain and the team members are surcharged at the market value of the equipment plus 10% of the value. All right, so that's what we are dealing with now. So without much ado, what I'm going to do is, because there will be some calculations, I'm going to do the calculations using a query. Using a what? Using a query. So I'm now getting into a query wizard, right, to have it done quickly. And then it will be based on what table? It is table store items in and out, you know, borrowing and returns. That's the table that will be handling those issues. So all the fields are necessary, and then I carry on to the next, and then I need to show every detail of every record available, and then I carry on. And then what am I going to call this query? I will call it QRY, just like the table name, store items in and out. And of course, we know it will appear just like the table. It has nothing so far, right? It has nothing so far. But our imagination is this. So somebody has come, borrowed Mikasa football. Then this person is who? Okay, one thing that I'll also mention here, who are supposed to borrow. In my case, when I drop down the list, every member, I have got about 151 members. Ask me how I typed. You know, I'm very fast, a very fast typist. I typed very fast. I have 151 members. However, they are not all captains. They are not all captains. So if I check from the members table, just follow closely. If I check from the members table, we have so many members. And how do we know those who are captains and those who are not captains. So that's an area which again I'm going to handle thereafter, just limiting ourselves to a list of only those who are members, who are captains, and not every member coming to borrow. But for now, let's just assume that every person is allowed to borrow. Let's just assume so, though not true, but let's just assume so. So we have Megan coming to borrow Mikasa Football, and then on what date the computer captures? Now, the time that I have applied in this particular case is what the time I was creating this field. Then has gone with 3 footballs. They have a large team and therefore they want to go and practice. Who issued? Okay, that's an officer in charge. So we may say Derek did it. Derek is our storekeeper. Right. Now, of course, the balls will not be returned today. And therefore, I can just do a back date of the date borrowed and say that Megan borrowed on July the 3 footballs, and then it was on 20th of June, and then they are now coming to return these balls today, right? They are coming to return these balls today, so I pick the date today, not a problem, and then received by, of course, our officer has not been changed, it's still Derek. And then quantity returned. For one reason, this guy has returned 2 balls and had borrowed how many? Had borrowed 3. So we have 1 ball missing, isn't it? So we want our query now to account for that there is a missing ball. Okay, there is a missing ball. So to get that difference, of course, I believe you know how to maneuver that so far. If you are a good student of mine and a keen follower of your teacher, then you must be like your teacher. So we have got quantity borrowed, isn't it? So I'm selecting the field list. From the field list, I have selected quantity borrowed less or minus quantity returned. That gives us a difference of what is missing. And then what is missing is what we consider as damaged or lost. Our assumption is also that we shall not be receiving goods that are destroyed, and therefore if they are damaged, kaya na hizo vitu atuletee pesa tununue vitu zetu mpya. So quantity, I'm renaming this field quantity lost or damaged, quantity lost or damaged. Okay, I believe you can be able to see that. That's a name that I have applied there. Quantity lost or damaged is the name of the new column. And just to show you the result, okay, so there we are. Now that's the query. Yes, we gave out 3 balls and Megan returned 2. So the quantity lost, now the computer is giving us a total of 1. And then again, that's not all. Is it all? No, it's not all. Because we are told in case of loss or damage to the equipment, the captain and the team members are surcharged at the market value of the equipment plus 10% of the value. So what is the surcharge amount? What is the surcharge amount that Megan and his team are going to pay? So again, we just get back to design view, and then ask ourselves, do we need to know something? Yes, we must know what is the market value of a football. And where do we have that price? I have it in a table. I have it in a table called table store items. Table store items. This one. Yes, we have got a field called market value, and the table itself is called store items, and we also again have a field called item ID. Item ID. So let's see what is the possible, what is the price attached to Mikasa Football. It is 3,500. So in other words, we want to get this value from this table store items, and then we apply it to our query that we are designing here, so that again we subject it also to plus 10%. So I am building now an expression. I'm busy now building an expression. This expression will say, I zoom in. Do you need to see what I'm doing? If you need, then there I am. DLOOKUP. We are acquainted with that. DLOOKUP, what field name? It's called market value. Market value. Market value is what we want the computer to give us. Domain is what? Table. What did we call this table? It is up here. I just check and I am seeing TBL store items. TBL what? Store items. Close double quotes, then comma, where there is a field in it called item ID. Item ID, where it is equal to, it is a number. It is a number. There is a different way of handling numbers, where item ID is equal to the item ID that I am working with here. I can simply double click it from the middle column because it's available there, where item ID is equal to that. So you can just check what I have done. Posting the video can be very useful, and then reviewing the kind of formula that I am using here. So let's first see whether this is going to give us the market value being 3,500, because that's the value that we are interested with. Datasheet view. Datasheet view. When you zoom in a computer, it becomes so nagging, so problematic, and therefore I'm just zooming out again because it is giving me a nightmare here. Right, so there we are. You can see 3,500. What is it? The cost of a football. The cost of a single football. But now, assuming that Derek had borrowed 5 footballs, then returned 3 footballs, how many footballs are lost? Our formula is working very smart here. It's showing me number of lost or damaged footballs are 2. Therefore, in our new expression here, the one we are building, working on, it should now show us the total that should be paid is 3,500 times 2 footballs. And then that is not enough. They need also to add 10% above what they are paying back. So how do I modify the formula? Very simple. Very simple. I right click, choose build. Once again, I'm in my formula, working on it to improve it. This is giving us the cost of one single item, like in this case, a football. So we are multiplying it with what? I need to see the field name, total lost, total quantity lost, or whatever. It's not available here. Reason being, I have not so far saved this query. I need to first save it so that I can be able to use the column that I created that is working out the difference of the items returned. I have already saved. I pressed Ctrl S. So in the middle column, do you see there is the new field QTY, lost or damaged? So I'm going to say multiply this by QTY, lost or damaged. You know, the number of items that have been lost or damaged. Remember, that is coming from a formula that we just created some moment ago, right? Then all this now, all that, the result that you get there, like now, the whole of that will give us 2 times 3,500, so 7,000 times what? Somebody can tell me it is times what? Times 110. Times 110%. Times 110%. Why? 100% plus above it 10%. Okay. So let's see the behavior. Let's see the behavior now. and I will call EXPR1, I will rename it as Surcharged. Surcharged what? What are they calling it? They are calling it in the paper. I have the paper on my table. Be checking from your area, from your side. The team members are surcharged at the market value of the equipment, 10% of the value. So down there, we are told in point number 4, computation number 4, maintain records of item purchased. No. Where is the surcharge? It's number 6, item 6, part D. Surcharged fee for lost or damaged equipment. So surcharge fee is what I'm going to call this field of mine. And because of the way it is nagging here, I'm going to zoom out and then I display. And then I display in datasheet view. I show you when it is in datasheet view. We need a mathematician. Wala watu wa mathematics. Do the calculation. We have returned 3 balls. We had borrowed 5. We had borrowed 5 balls. We returned 3 balls. So what does that mean? 2 balls are unaccounted for. Each ball is costing how much? We saw in table store items, the market value is 3,500, isn't it? So now, what do we pay? 3,500 times 2 balls, 7,000, plus 10% of 7,000. A mathematician should tell us this is accurate. This is accurately captured. Can we try some more? Yeah, we can try 1 or 2 more. We can get something like very expensive hockey gear. Hockey gear was borrowed by a fellow called Susan. Susan borrowed hockey gears, and this was done on 10th. On 10th of June, she borrowed hockey gears. 10th of June, borrowed 7 hockey gears, and then they were issued again by Derek. Derek is our storekeeper, and then has been returned today. Has been returned today. Today is when these things are being returned. Received by Derek. Derek remains our storekeeper. And then borrowed 7. But Susan, because of there was a theft around their area, 3 of them were lost. So she returned 4. She returned 4, meaning quantity lost or damaged are 3. Quantity lost or damaged are 3. And they are very expensive equipment. You look at the store item, a hockey gear here. A hockey gear is costing 15,000. So how many have been lost? We have lost 3 hockey gears. 3 times 15,000 gives us a total of 45,000. Then add your 10% of 45,000. Are you seeing how it is working? Right, now where do we apply that? You can design a form based on this query so that you will be using your form to capture goods issued, goods returned. Goods issued, goods returned. And that way, you're going to find your life becoming very, very comfortable. So far, so good. Do I show you how to design a form? I don't think I should, but probably when I'll be doing the next video, I'll show you my own form, how it looks like, and then you'll compare it with yours. But as long as you have been able to successfully have it done on the query, and what have I called the query? Query stores items in and out, then your work becomes very easy. So probably the next time in the next video, it might be an additional information to this, where I might be responding to the issue like, here we can allow any Tom, Dick, and Harry to borrow any item. But we are restricted. We are told only those who are games captains or team captains who should borrow items from the store. We are going to answer, how do we limit? How do we create a limitation only to those who are games captains? Have a lovely, lovely day. Thank you.